What's up, everyone? This is Logan from Cigar Federation here on Cigar Chat with you Thursday, October 8th, 2015. Appreciate everyone listening live with us on Cigar Federation, on our podcast, and on the Armed Forces Radio Network. Welcome. So, tonight, Rob's not here, so that means we're going to obviously have a much better show because Rob's a major flapping douche. So we don't have to listen to his bull crap all night. And we've got filling in for my main man, the one and only, Big Tuna. What's happening?
Not much, man. Glad to be here. It's always good to come on the show.
You know, I love you, Seth. You're just the kind of guy that I can just snuggle up to. Yeah,
exactly.
Man. You're just a good dude. And so, everyone watching on Cigar Federation, we have went live in case you actually are watching this train wreck and nonsense. So, we've got a special guest with us. We have, hold on, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but we have Charles from Boveda.
Very good, nice.
I did. I nailed it.
Were you worried about the Charles or the Boveda part?
A little bit of both. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was Charlie for some reason because one of our members, Charlie, asked a lot of questions on the show, and I saw his name recently, and I couldn't remember if it was Charles or Charlie, and I wanted to check really quick. So I didn't look like a big idiot like I am right now, but we'll move on. So first question, though, Charles. And first of all, has anyone ever called you Charles in Charge?
Well, you know, the funny thing is that my nickname among my friends is Chachi. So not only Charles in Charge, but Chachi, Joni Love, so all that happens, yeah. So usually my street name on most of my personal stuff is Super Chachi because I had some kids give me that nickname a while back. So call me Charlie, though, for this purpose because I don't want people to think that I'm a kingpin of a Mexican drug cartel by going by Chachi.
I would say something right now, but it's not appropriate based on one of the industries you're in, but we'll move on. So let's ask the first question. This is by Bob Dog, and even though I pronounced it correct, he wants to know, is it Boveda, Boveda? How did you arrive at the name, and how do you properly pronounce it?
Well, first of all, we wanted something that sounded like a Spanish cheese, and so everything went out from there. I'm just kidding. I vividly remember the session over a cigar at a place that is no longer a cigar club here. It was a discussion on what we could name the new version of what at the time was Humidipack that people were asking for in use in their humidors. And Boveda somehow popped up. I think that we were Googling, well, it wasn't Google back in 2000 or so when this came out, but they searched words for vault or safety, and so Boveda means safety in Spanish. It's got a couple other variations that mean ceilings and that kind of thing, but we thought that it was kind of fitting because what does Boveda create but a vault, but a protective barrier inside of packages and containers. So Bob, I think, was it Bob? I'm sorry, who was asking the question?
Bob Dog.
Bob Dog, let me tell you personally, we don't care how you pronounce it, we just appreciate that you buy it.
There you go.
Boveda officially is how we say it.
Boveda. There we go.
What an appropriate name, though, for the product, though. That's all I can say.
So, you know, Charlie, for people that, you know, don't know, that leave their cigars outside in the baking sun and don't use proper humidification, let's take a few minutes and explain exactly what your product is.
So Boveda is a two-way humidity control, meaning that it gives off and it removes and brings in. So we invented and patented Boveda packs about 17 years ago, and the humidity level is dependent on the salt solution that goes inside. Science has known for lots of years, hundreds of years, that certain salts mixed with water are going to naturally regulate a certain humidity level. So we just engineered the packaging around it and patented that. So we, whether it's 69 or 49 or 75, whatever of the bunch of humidity levels that we make between 10% and 95%, all of them monitor the humidity level and add moisture if they need to, or remove it if they need to achieve that specific humidity level engineered into the pack. So why is that important for cigars? Well, cigars, even though you burn them, you want a certain level of moisture in the leaf because that's what enhances the oils, the sugars, is what gets everything to marry up properly after good aging. And you need a constant, stable humidity level. Everything up until Boveda was refillable, which is kind of the case these days, other than Boveda. And so what happens is you fill it, and the humidity spikes, and then it dries out, and it drops, and then you fill it up again. So you have this seesawing, this teeter-tottering, and that is really dangerous for cigars.
Got it. So Alexander Martinez has a question saying, are Boveda or Boveda pack, I can't even pronounce a crap now.
Say it however you want to.
Boveda packs.
Boveda packs. Boveda, humidipacks, whatever. Are they hydroscopic? Meaning, are they similar to humidibeads that will regulate humidity by absorbing and releasing moisture?
No, they are much better than doing it than beads. What happens with beads is they do have a mild capacity to regulate humidity, but if you add something to the container, introduce something that's way dry or way wet, it's more than the capacity that beads have to give off moisture or to absorb moisture. So in the same way, this is going to sound like a jerk comment after the comment I just made, but you could get a sock to regulate 70% inside of a sealed container if you put the right amount of moisture in it. But as soon as you introduce something to it or open it or close it, it's going to lose moisture. So hydroscopic, I guess that we don't necessarily use that term, but it's the only two-way precision humidity control with fantastic capacity. And I think that one of the ways that you can tell what really is or isn't precision is the fact that Boveda makes the world's only hygrometer calibration kit. You don't see sponges or clay or beads come out with calibration kits, because in those scenarios, if you add too much moisture or too little moisture, they're not going to work. And so I think that's an objective way that can prove that Boveda is unique to the world, and that's why it's the only thing that you're going to find in the cigar boxes of some of the world's biggest brands.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, because I've seen that with, Fuente and Aromacraft has started doing it. Tell us a little bit about the program where you work with cigar manufacturers that actually include Boveda packs in their boxes at the factory.
Sure. Listen, you might only get one shot at putting your best foot forward when you are a cigar manufacturer. And those cigar boxes have to go through every type of element possible when they're being shipped from Honduras, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, wherever it is in the world. So even the ones that do it really well, there are points, times, days, sometimes weeks in the distribution chain where those cigars are sitting on a pallet in the middle of Miami, or they're sitting on a pallet in a warehouse in Minneapolis or Arizona, and it's completely dry. So it's those times that they need protection in there to maintain the proper humidity level, and it's really just a function that Boveda works. Boveda is the only thing that you can depend on, and that's why it's the only thing that you're going to find in the cigar boxes of major manufacturers. So the great thing, the wild thing about how this business works is that the rock stars of this business use our product. They buy it from us. We don't give it to them. They buy it from us. And in exchange, we put a Boveda logo on each of their boxes, and now you're going to start seeing it in more of their ads. So any cigar that has Boveda in the package will be advertised as such, so that people can buy with confidence, knowing that that cigar line, that brand, has been perfectly protected from beginning to end. And so it's a unique situation where if you wanted LeBron James to endorse your product, you'd pay him big, big bucks, right? Well, the great thing about this arrangement is that we don't pay these cigar rock stars to use their image. They're happy to do it because we're promoting what's basically a quality assurance program with Boveda included in the box. So you guys have probably seen 4 or 5 different For My Humidor campaigns. We've got a total of 8 cigar rock stars that are doing that for us, and there's going to be 3 or 4 really big names coming up here in the future. They're adding us not only to more of their lines of cigars, or they're starting and they're going to go big, but we've got some pretty fun, big announcements. World-class cigars that are going to start carrying Boveda in their boxes also.
Very cool.
Seth,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I've gone to, anytime you go to a retail store, you have a lot of guys who buy cigars who don't have humidors, and, they ask the retailer, hey, I don't have a humidor. The countless times I've seen where a retailer just kind of gives them one of those wooden boxes that puts a Boveda pack in there and says, this isn't a permanent humidor, but it's going to work. And I'll tell you one thing, it's basically the same as a humidor. I mean, it works great.
What we say is that a humidor is only as good as the humidification inside. Listen, you can have an LE Blue, and I've got one sitting 6 feet from me. But if I use the original element that came in that, it would be junk.
Yeah.
With Boveda in it, it's probably one of the best storage devices and the classiest one. Well, on the other hand, if you're using a sponge in an LE Blue or Boveda in a Tupperware, that Tupperware container with Boveda in your cigars would be light years better than in the LE Blue, a $1,500 LE Blue with a sponge in it. So whatever the type of container, because humidors, let's remember, are made of wood. That is a really crappy storage environment. So but we work obviously very effectively in it. So wood leaks moisture. You're leaking moisture through the walls, through the bottom, obviously through the seals. Point being that that's probably the least efficient environment that we work in, but we still work incredibly effectively and very good in it. So we like to say that your storage device is only as good as the humidor, or I'm sorry, your storage device is only as good as the moisture control that you're using. And I think that I'd obviously make the case that Boveda is best, but I think there's some objective ways to tell how that's the case too.
No, I mean I have Tupperwares. I don't really use humidors. I mean I use this, which is released the Boveda acrylic humidor, which is working great. I've been using this for a couple months, which I just love the appearance of it. But most of my cigars, they're all in these Tupperwares. I have these Tupperwares in a closet, and all of them are just Boveda packets in there. And it's just, they seal them up, and I haven't had to change them. I haven't had to worry about anything. I don't even worry about reading the RH level or the temperature in there, just because I'm comfortable, I'm confident in it. When I used to use Cigar Oasis, and I'm going to call them out, it's a pain in the ass. I mean, it just was, my cigars were too wet or they were too dry, and there was always a problem with it. So there's a confidence that I find that comes with it as well.
Listen, that is the most efficient way to do overflow. Yeah, I've got 3 or 4 desktop humidors, but we have multiple flip-top Coleman-type coolers that have 20, 50, 80 cigar boxes in, total, and 5, 6, 8 Boveda packs. We replace them once every, 6 months, 9 months when we remember to do it. So you're absolutely right. That's a very efficient way to do it. And that brings up a good question that we get asked a lot, is why would I store stuff in a humidor bag, or why would I store it in a cooler? Doesn't it need wood to age? Well, if you're leaving them in the boxes, that's settled, because the boxes are, of course, are made of wood, generally, and they've got the cedar in there anyway. But in terms of using the humidor bag where your cigars are going to be loose and there's not going to be cedar in there, well, you could throw cedar in there, but we always kind of come back to the fact that these cigars, this tobacco's been aged years generally before anyone ever buys it. So the 2 or 3 months that they might have it not in cedar is not going to affect the taste in a dramatic way that they'd probably notice. So I say go for the super efficient way. You could spend only maybe $15 on Boveda a year to keep 10, 15 boxes in perfect aging condition.
Yeah, it's super easy. That's what I use. I know Logan's an idiot and doesn't use it, but
what?
What?
Logan. Hopefully by the end of this, we'll convince him.
Here, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Is that it's not that I don't. Like, I've got Boveda packs, a whole thing, and we'll talk more about recharging them, because I have a couple of questions about that. But I've got them and I use them. I personally kind of like, I've got a huge tower humidor that I use, and I like the more of the active humidity than the passive humidity, right? Meaning where I can have my big Cigar Oasis actually circulate air, because really with humidity it's important, right? Regulating the right temperature is very important, but also being able to cycle that air is also very important. I mean, that's another factor that people don't think about. So I've noticed that people that do use Boveda packs don't necessarily circulate the air. Do you know what I mean? So that's just personally why I don't in a big humidor. But I do have small Tupperwares and things where I do, because it's much more convenient and it's a lot of space saving to throw a couple in, and it doesn't really matter how many you throw in, and you're set, versus trying to wedge a Cigar Oasis in there.
Yeah, I get it. even in a sealed environment, there's going to still be temperature fluctuations, minute temperature fluctuations. I mean, we're talking tenths of degrees, and that hot air still rises and falls, and so does humidity. It rises and falls, and so will it create the type of circulation that a cigar oasis, that a fan will? Of course not. But I think that if you put two identical boxes of cigars in something that had an oasis and Boveda, I bet you in a blind taste, I would give you, Mike, one good leg if you could tell the taste difference between the two. I would actually make the case that you prefer the Boveda because it would be a more stable humidity level. So I'm willing
I
to
don't
eat
know.
that.
My palate's pretty good, so I've been told.
You have a terrible palate.
That's not true. Hey, I'm telling you, anytime someone sent me blind cigars, I do very well. I do very well.
Except for that one time you butchered it. So what are the...
I didn't butcher. I got one and a half of them right.
How many... you range percentage for Boveda. I mean, you go from 62 all the way up to 72.
No, you do lower than that, too.
Well, we can do as low as 11, and we're really only limited by the salts that nature's provided us. And we can mix salts together, and we can engineer humidity levels that nature didn't provide with a little bit of science. There's some limits to that, but we can make a solid 11%. We can make a solid 95%. But in terms of what we have in production right now, we've got a 32% that is completely stable. It's actually used as a lower point in calibration. And the highest that we make right now in production is the 84, which has the most application for cigar, for desktop humidor seasoning.
Yeah.
Which one do you use for pipe tobacco?
No, I've heard lots of different stuff on pipe tobacco. I've heard 72, I've heard 75. I generally hear a little bit higher because
on pipe tobacco?
That's what I hear. That's
really?
When I've gone to there's a local store that puts Boveda packs in every one of their glass jars, and there's 72s in there anyway. So I don't know if they've landed on that, but that's what they use. That could also be the Minnesota climate.
I would beg to differ on that.
Do you think is it lower?
Way lower. I mean, well, it depends, right? Oh yeah. I mean, first of all, pipe tobacco. I mean, cigar industry is full of myths and rumors perpetuated by 1,000 people. But the problem is in the pipe tobacco world, there's no information whatsoever. So people just kind of make stuff up. But from, Gregory Peace, who, I think probably one of the most trusted authorities in the industry, pipe tobacco-wise, typically he says anywhere from, say, 20 to 30%, depending. And there's no humidification. Like, when it's not that I smoke a lot of pipe tobacco, but I do have a ton, about 30 pounds of it. And as long as you store it in a mason jar, that pretty much seals it. I don't put any humidification, and I've looked around and I played around with it a little bit, and when I put a 72 in, and I can use that to kind of rehydrate some dried out tobacco, but I've noticed if I've left it in too long, the pipe tobacco is way too soggy and wet. Now, would it lead to mold? I don't necessarily know, but it'd be interesting if you guys have like a 30. Where can you even buy those?
We don't have the 30 really for sale. You can buy it within our calibration kit, but I think that if somebody called us up and wanted 32s, we could probably even put 32s up on the website because we make them. They just usually go into the calibration kit because what we basically release to the public is really only based, first of all, on need. And so if that's something that you want to try out and tell the world how awesome it works, I'm happy to overcharge you for them.
Okay. Or you can just give them to me for free, and I'll be your test market. That would work, too.
That's good. We'll do that, too.
Okay, that'll work.
So I know nothing about it. But mostly cigars mostly cigars you're doing, what, 65 to 72? Is there one number that really is always getting in demand?
For Boveda, 72 is the most popular, and then it goes to 69, then it goes 65, then it bumps up to 75, and then goes to 84 because that's obviously just generally used once to season a humidor. So the whole world has for years said 70 and 70, 70% humidity, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But you're going to find Cameroon wrappers, or you're going to like the Don Carlos. We like those better at 65. My Cubans, they get stored at 62. So it's really a function of personal taste and the type of cigar, and it might not always be the same for everybody. So the awesome thing is that every cigar and every container, there's a Boveda for it. If you want to hit 65 in a wood humidor, we've got 65. If you want 62, we've got 62. If you like them a little wet, or your humidor is a bit breezy because it exchanges a lot more air than makes it most efficient, you might need to use our 75s in order to hit 72 or 70. So the awesome thing is that with our technology, we've got a range that people can hit any number they want in any container they have. Within, oh wait, I should say within 1% variation. Sorry.
Yeah.
Plus or minus 1% of error.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
Which
tell us about
which
the
is
other
pretty darn
industries that
accurate.
you're in. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and it just so happens that our 75% is the same in the big packs, the 60-gram packs is the same formula that goes into our calibration kit, and that's accurate to 0.3%. So the other industries that we're in, I think we've next started with music because storage of acoustic guitars has been a hassle in the same way that people were used to refilling and drying out and the spikes in humidity that's dangerous when you're talking about a multi-$1,000 guitar. People asked us for something that was stable within the range of wood. And so it just so happens that wood, though, is much more broad in its ideal range, anywhere between about 40 to 60, 45 to 55, right in there. So we have a 49% product that we released for guitars, and we've been selling that for 15 years, and that does really well for us. But we're also in food in a little bit, pet nutraceuticals. Some dogs get a little bit too picky. They won't eat the dry treats at the end of a bag when they start out chewy at the beginning.
Really?
So a 59% pack in some pet nutraceuticals keeps them the exact perfect condition from beginning to end. We're in, right? I know, right? We're also in some computer monitors. Static electricity is no bueno for electronics, and when people were pulling their computer monitors out of boxes with the styrofoam and the cardboard and then plugging it in or touching it, it was setting off a charge and it was breaking pixels or it was doing bad things. So a little bit of electronics, a little bit of food is our probably next big push. Some medical devices, but our biggest one and our fastest growing is medical marijuana or marijuana period because they can both use it.
So
this goes out to all the people in Colorado. What's the RH for marijuana? I'm just curious.
62, baby.
62.
Yeah,
60,
really?
62 for most strains, and then 57 is, well, and I'm breaking it now. We're going to come out with a 57% here, and we've got a prototype production run happening next week.
So Cigar Dojo, 5762, man, up in
Just
Colorado.
for you.
Just for you, man.
Yeah.
Don't take care of your Pineapple Express, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonder why I saw so many orders from him coming through at 62.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, Dojo's crazy like that.
I knew he didn't have that many Cubans.
No, he doesn't. So.
Well, tell us a little bit about, quick question from one of the members here. Yeah, let me just find it here. Where's it at? He had a good one. Okay, what's your take on, actually, this is from Charlie. What's your take on recharging Boveda packs? I mean, obviously you don't recommend it because that's less profit for you. But is it actually work, or is it just kind of fooling everyone? And at what point are they just no good and they need to be thrown out?
Yeah, let me put it to you this way first. If you have a way that works, keep doing it. That's great. We'd rather that you use our product, and we'd rather that you have fantastic cigars by using the same set or sets of packs and basically recharging them. We'd rather that you have perfect cigars instead of using something else and having not the great experience that you do with our product. We don't recommend it really for two reasons, and of course, yes, it doesn't put my illegitimate kids through college if I'm not selling Boveda,
Exactly.
But the reason that we don't recommend it is two, because one, it introduces effort, time, hassle, and maintenance into something that was designed specifically to not have none of that. And the second one is that you can overdo it. Those Boveda packs have a great capacity to absorb. They'll absorb about, depending on formula, about 20% of their starting weight. So if you have a 60-gram pack, that thing is going to add or be able to safely absorb about 12 grams of water. That's a lot of freaking water, right?
Yeah.
But there is a point where it can't absorb anymore. So it's not going to be doing anything. It won't be absorbing anything more. And at that point, you're going to wonder why your cigars are soggy. And so, or why when you put them in with your cigars, that they're that they just aren't the same. So if you have a method, it's no secret that Boveda will absorb moisture if they're exposed to an area that's higher than the humidity on the pack. So if you have a reliable way to do that and you have the time to do it, fantastic, go for it. But we don't recommend it for the time and hassle reason, and because you can't tell by touch that they've absorbed everything they can. It's easy to tell when one of the packs is dried out.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
It does.
Go ahead, Seth.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, my co-host on One Embargo, and we do a lot of Cuban stuff. He said he used to reuse them, but he found out that it's just he didn't think they were as reliable, and he stopped doing it. And I even told him, I was like, the whole point of it's just to be easy. I mean, when I get one that's dry, I just toss it. It's easy. Then you just throw another one in there. I mean, no worries, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's no question that the reason that people don't buy our product oftentimes is that they feel that it's too expensive. Well, I kind of turn it back and I say it's expensive not to use Boveda. The first time you ruin a humidor by wiping it down or by putting cups of water in it, that gets expensive. Or the first time you get some mold or your cigars don't taste that great. You don't even have to have a catastrophe for it to be expensive. If you have $10 in cigars and they don't smoke very well, or they're a little dry, or they're a little wet, that sucks. And that could have been prevented by spending a couple extra bucks for something that's going to keep them perfect. So I know where that question comes from. It's something that we've talked about, and we're always looking for ways that we can reduce our costs. But I know that question usually comes from, because people don't ask that question if they don't think that there's a big dollar amount associated with Boveda. But like I just said, it's more expensive not to use it. But if you've got a reliable way to do it, go for it. I just can't suggest anything because A, we've not tried it. Listen, if I want Boveda, I go I go 30 feet from my office and pick up handfuls of it. Right? I don't have to worry about that. But the reality is that I don't know what that good way would be, because it's certainly not soaking it. It's probably not taking it in the shower with you, because that would get a little embarrassing depending on how your body reacts to water if you take a cold shower. So I guess that I'm saying that I think once you use it and figure out how your cigars are supposed to taste, you'll realize that the investment in your cigars is worth it.
It's worth it. Well, let me ask you a question. So you guys, previously had your distribution through Ashton, and you guys took that back in-house. And my first part of the question is why that move to kind of bring the distribution back in-house?
Well, we loved our relationship with Ashton. We still highly respect them. They're a great name, and we've still got a number of their favorite cigars are in my humidor. I love their EE. I love their Noblesse is fantastic. Obviously, the Mia Moore. So we love their stuff, and we still try to support them. When they were having the Freedom Sampler that they were putting 100% of proceeds at Holtz.com to Cigar Rights of America, we promoted that as much as we could because we like Ashton, and of course we love CRA. We just decided that nobody's going to promote our brand like we will, and they did a fantastic job for us. They have an amazing sales force, and they've got a great reputation. But we just felt like for what Boveda wants to accomplish in the future and serve our customers, being the end user in cigars and everything else that we operate, for the new form factors that we have coming out, for the new products that we have coming out, we just needed to have more flexibility in being able to pursue those. And so taking the distribution back in-house, recreating those relationships that we originally built our business on back in '97, when I was making a couple hundred phone calls a day from a desk that was a door on top of 2 filing cabinets in the CEO's living room, we are getting back to those now. So we're talking to people that we haven't talked to in 10, 15 years, except for seeing them at IPCPR, where our function was basically a support function instead of a sales function. So,
right.
Not
and
because
that took away all distribution too, right? Mostly. Pretty much back in house.
Yeah, for the cigar business, it did. So it wasn't because of poor performance. The performance was fine. The performance was good.
Okay.
So then business has been growing each year. So it was purely just what Boveda has planned for the future, some of which we can reveal, and some of which we can't until some big announcements.
Fair enough. The reason I asked the question
is
you
guys have really taken off in the past couple of years, I feel like. I mean, it's just, I feel like a lot more people have gotten on board. I think consumers are more aware of the product, and I think even, you know, with manufacturers putting Boveda packs in their boxes, I think was very appealing to people. I mean, I think that the Opus X is just a classic example. Having that in there, people were like, wow, this is pretty darn sweet.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think I don't know what we attribute that growth to. I don't know if it's just where it's been a certain level of being out there for as long as we have, or our awesome customers telling their buddies how much they love it. Maybe because I'm also convinced that there's a certain segment, and I'm probably, maybe it's because I'm halfway through my Basil Hayden's that I'd say this, but I'm fairly convinced, maybe like you, Logan, that you like to tinker. There's probably part of you that likes to tinker. So there's almost something that Boveda is almost an antithesis to your personality, where you like to F around with stuff. And so it's like, oh my gosh, something that's easy and I don't have to fart around with anymore. What will I find to do with my time, or what will my wife find to do with my time? Is more.
Yeah, this is true.
I feel like that's kind of the component for some guys, and so what I tell them is, listen, find a different hobby. Your hobby doesn't have to be farting around with inconsistent results of your refillable humidifiers.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Real quick, Seth. So the reason I asked back to the distribution question, the reason I asked that is because, you know, before that happened, Cigar Federation, you know, has an online store, and I was actually sold. We were going to do some really fancy Cigar Federation packs with Boveda little Humi packs and the 5-packs. It was going to be real nice. And then when you guys took it kind of back in-house, the pricing changed and everything kind of went through you, as we weren't able to work it out. But recently I've seen where Quality Importers is now an authorized reseller. So if you take it where you were taking it back in-house, but QI is now kind of a reseller, then isn't that kind of go against your strategy?
Not really. There's you know, don't forget that QI not only do they distribute, but they sell a lot of humidors. And there's some strategic. We're not getting rid of distribution per se, because there's a couple others that you haven't mentioned. There's Phillips and King, and I think there's another couple as well. So we're adding them back, and we may not add any more necessarily, but once again, we had to realign what's our strategy and what fits our strategy, and having somebody like the power and the great company that QI is, or P&G, to maintain those relationships, because we can still fulfill what we need to fulfill with somebody that's a little bit different flavor than an Ashton.
Got it.
So, and keep in mind too that, you know, Quality is a sub-distributor. So yes, stores can buy from them. They have our entire catalog of products. They'll pay a little bit higher price, because we'd of course like to make sure that people get service the way that, with the level of service and professionalism and understanding that we do. Because listen, nobody's as big of a pro in our product as we are. So we want to have some incentive out there. But for somebody like Quality that deals with tons of stores on a daily basis, to have an add-on to whatever other items they're ordering just makes sense from a convenience standpoint.
Makes sense.
So I'm sorry if we hurt your feelings.
I'm extremely butthurt.
You're feeling. I don't know if you've got more than one or what.
No, man, I'm usually kind of like the Tin Man. I've got no heart. Or no, the Tin Man had no courage. I got courage. I'm like the lion that has no heart or no feelings. I don't know which one, but
you're like fucking Toto, man. Shut up.
Dude, Toto was legit.
The dog that's just going around.
That dog was legit. It survived a fucking twister, man.
This
is true. This is true.
Twister is legit.
Wait,
this is true.
Seth, is that a coincidence that Toto is the one character that can lick itself?
Hold on.
I'm not suggesting it. I'm asking a question.
Logan licks himself. So,
I could have. What if I could? I'm not that flexible. I'm a big manatee.
We'd never leave the house.
You know, the other thing was, this is, you know, kind of just going back, and I was thinking about, it seems, you know, for a long time, it wasn't like, you know, you travel with your cigars or anything like that, or you wouldn't ship cigars to your friends and so forth, but that's really picked up in the amount of years since I started smoking. It's this whole, hey, let me bomb my friends something in the mail, or I'm gonna take my travel humidor with me. And the Boveda packs are perfect because the sense of you can just throw them in there, or I'm mailing these cigars, I'm gonna load it up with Boveda packs. I mean, that's when I send cigars back and forth to people. I usually just mail them in a travel humidor with Boveda packs, and we just mail the humidor back and forth with the Boveda packs, which are usually perfectly fine for months. We never have to deal with anything about it.
That's a great way to do it because, listen, there's, and to your fans and to your viewers, you might not think that a couple days out of a humidor, if it's wrapped in cello, is that big of a deal. But if you want to know how big of a deal it is, set your cigar down after you're done smoking it and come back in a couple hours and look how dry the end that you've had in your mouth for 2 hours is.
Oh, yeah.
And odds are it's going to be really dry. And so that's happening when it's being shipped, and especially based on the time of the year. So, yeah, incredibly important. But, yeah, there's guys that'll use the same Boveda pack for months in even Ziploc bags that'll last a couple months. But if you're shipping something like a hefty kind of Pelican case humidor or something like that, yeah, those things will last a year plus in one of those.
Now you guys just released the Boveda acrylic humidor, which is a small desktop humidor, which is clear. I have a little piece of cedar at the top, but the bottom is the packs, and then you have the sticks in there. These are becoming more available as we speak, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we really didn't. We wanted to kind of march into it slowly and cautiously. We didn't know how those would be received, but I think we went through 300 of them in less than a month, and then had another order that went of 500, and we went through those in less than a month, and now we've got about I think we've got about another 1,000 or 750 or something. It should be here any day on the ship. So that's a great example that acrylic humidor and those 2 Boveda packs inside of it are going to last you about a year.
Yeah.
Of zero maintenance.
And there's magnetic seals on the corners, which are awesome.
Yeah, and so those will last you about a year with zero maintenance. And a wood humidor of that size with 2 packs in it would probably be about half that time or less. And so that's a great example of the efficiency of non-wood. Listen, wood humidors look fantastic. They're great, and you can make them very, very. I mean, Daniel Marshall is another example next to LA Blue of somebody that makes an amazing humidor. Boveda lasts a really long time in those. Boveda and my LA Blue over there last about 6 months. So our usual is 2 to 4 if you're using one of the 60 grams per 25 cigars. Yeah, and let's not forget that, because I know you guys are pros and we're close to the trees on this, but people often have the question, how many do I use? Well, great thing about Boveda, since it's never going to over-humidify, is all we're worried about is you using the minimum, because you can't ever overdo it. So we suggest using one of the 60-gram packs per 25 cigar capacity. So that's even if the humidor isn't full, because it's still space and it's still wood. So if you're using more than the 1 per 25, that's great. They're just going to last longer, work more efficiently. You're going to replace them less. So it doesn't mean using more doesn't mean you're going to spend more money. It just means you're going to spend the same over the life of the humidor. You're just going to be in it less often to replace them.
Yeah, my wife has hated all my wooden humidors in the past, which I've sold or given away to people. But the acrylic one, she says, I actually like that humidor. And then my first question came to mind was, all right, when are they going to make a bigger one? Because I want a bigger one of these things. So I'm a big fan of them. Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of them.
We'll stand by a larger humidor that fits a larger acrylic that fits about 125 cigars may or may not be coming soon.
That's pretty sweet. I'm excited for that. Logan, do you have any more questions? Any of the guys have any more questions?
I'm looking. There's quite a few here. Let me just see if I can find it out.
And hey, thanks, viewers, for your questions.
Ooh, here's a good one. This is from Douglas Shepard, and I don't know if this is relevant. It's a good question, though. Is how much does room temperature shorten or extend the life of Boveda packs, even if they're sealed in the plastic bags, or does it have an impact at all?
Not really, Douglas. Inside the original packaging, whether you buy Boveda in the singles or if you buy them in a brick, they're going to have at least a 2-year shelf life in the original packaging. Even if you just keep the bag in the big 20-pack brick buttoned up after taking 4 or 5 out. So the packaging we use, really, really efficient. Temperature doesn't really affect it, except for in the winter, you might, even though salt obviously raises the freezing temperature, they're still going to freeze sometimes in the mail. So if you're hoping to grab something out of your mailbox in the middle of a Minnesota winter and throw them right in your humidor, you might need to wait an hour or two until they thaw out a little bit, but they're going to be fine. They'll perform perfectly. There won't be any problem with it. So you won't see any measurable difference based on the temperature where you're using them.
Got it. Okay.
Because you guys are up in Minnesota with Crux. And Crux
That's right.
uses your product. Yeah, Crux uses your product, which is great.
Yeah, Jeff and Joel are awesome. Their cigars are amazing, and they're a premier store. And they decided that and again they did it perfectly. They're a new brand that only gets might get one shot to make an impression. They wanted to make sure that it was ideal by putting our stuff in the box.
Yeah. Because let's see, they use it. Fuente does it. You said Roma Craft's starting to do it. Who else? Who else puts them in the boxes?
Ashton, right?
Oh boy, no, Ashton never did.
Jerks.
Those mother truckers.
You may have heard of Padron. I think I see a signed lid right above your head there, Seth.
Yeah, I know.
Drew Estate. Some people may have heard of Rocky Patel. CLE, Matilde, E.P. Carrillo. Pete Johnson's going to start here pretty soon. There's some
everybody.
There's some really big names that I see on your wall there that may or may not be doing it also. So we're blessed to have a really great product and people that like it, that want to use it, and we're thrilled to be in that spot. We don't take it for granted any day.
You guys got to get Cube on board. You got to get Habanos to do it.
What's your no BS assessment on Cubans as a whole? Because I have my very, very distinct.
Well, Logan's going to say I hate them. They're too mild. Blah blah blah.
They are too mild. Listen, for what they are, there's no denying that Cuba is a forbidden fruit, and there's an allure about doing things that are illegal, like drinking underage. It's kind of like smoking a Cuban or drinking a Cuban Havana Club, right? But is it the best place in the world to grow tobacco? Absolutely. It's a phenomenal place. But has communism beat it down to the point where all the talent's left? Well, it's true, right? Has the talent left? Has the seed been planted other places? Has the American palate, come to love a different type of cigar? Absolutely. So if they were become embargoed or they become unembargoed, are people going to go ape shit? Well, of course they are. And I think my personal opinion is that Cuba, while they are communist, they aren't idiots. They are going to continue to support the European and Asian market with good cigars. They're going to send crappy cigars to the U.S. because Americans are stupid and don't know any better. And the brands that are going to get hurt the most are not the Roma Crafts of the world or the Crux of the world that provide a great product at a reasonable price. It's going to be the ones like Padron or very high-end manufacturers, because when you go in and you see a Padron for $15 or you see a Cuban, you're going to buy a Cuban. And that's my honest assessment.
Yeah.
The honest truth. By the way, I'm smoking a Mane Sublime 2008. So we know we're turning. No, man, it's fucking great. So we're on two different boats, but it's one of those. I hate when people say Cubans are better than Nicaraguans or Nicaraguans are better than Cubans. And the reason I hate it is because there's a lot of great cigars coming out of Nicaragua. But there's also some really shitty cigars coming out of Nicaragua. And it's the same goes for Cuba. So, I don't know.
Well, listen, there's sometimes that I'm in a mood for the flavor profile of a Cuban. But I tell you what, man, I've been burned enough times, even though we've got, some of our customers, international customers that can ship cigars anywhere in the world, use Boveda inside of all their packaging, because when you're shipping Switzerland to Miami, Florida, or the middle of Arizona, you got to make sure that it's protected. And I've been burned so many times. I love this cigar. Wow, this is great. I can't wait to have another one. And then there's a knot in it. And you look at that and you go, wow, that's a $20 knot that I'm holding. And like Logan, you said, I think that's quality probably suffers when you've got a gun to your head to produce.
This is probably true.
That's right. I was told I was a communist last month.
You kind of are a communist.
So I'm just like, well, whatever. Less than a month ago, I was called a communist, so I don't even give a shit.
By a former communist.
No, he's not. He's never been communist. His family may have been under communist, but that's neither the point here nor there. So
it'll be. I think if once it opens up, I hope it's really good for the cigar world. I hope that people get a little bit fall in love with the idea of smoking cigars, smoke the cigars, but what I personally think they're going to find out is that they can get a better cigar.
Oh yeah.
I mean, listen, I would put a Fuente 858 up against a lot of cigars in the world because that's an amazing low-priced cigar. And so I think that I hope that it increases cigar smoking and the enjoyment of, because I've rarely seen anybody that's got a frown on their face when they're smoking a cigar.
This is true. And you know, Charles, it doesn't matter. This goes back to how you don't care if it's Boveda, Boveda. It doesn't matter what I smoke. You should know I only use your product.
Hey, thank you. Well, you know what? It doesn't.
I make sure my plugged Cubans are in the right humidity.
Just in case they
they smoke well. Just in case they smoke well, they're gonna have a great RH though.
Well, listen, no, I mean, then there's guys too that smoke anywhere from $3 cigars to whatever cigars, and we're all the same family. It doesn't matter what you smoke. You still want it in great condition. And so for the guys that are just starting out or they can't afford expensive cigars, you don't have to spend a lot of money to enjoy a cigar. There's a lot of low-priced, fantastic cigars out there.
Oh, yeah.
That it's really a function of how well you store it. And so if you are on the fence about starting smoking, or you wish you had some spendier cigars in your humidor, don't sweat that, man. Just enjoy it. We're all part of the same family. Just like it doesn't matter what motorcycle you ride, we're all part of the same family.
So true. It's just an easy product. It's so great for, I'm going to say it because he's never going to watch this show. My father-in-law is an incompetent when it comes to taking care of his cigars. I mean, an incompetent. Can't take care of him to save his life. And I used to worry about, I got to season this humidor again. I got to take care of this stuff. So finally I was just like, I'm just going to pack this thing full of Boveda packs. Way more than he needs. But then I don't ever need to worry about it. And it's made my life a lot easier.
You're not getting the 12:30 phone call at night saying, "Hey, my hygrometer is reading 61. What do I do?"
We were up at I was watching his house one time. This was back when he lived in the same town as me, and he was gone for the week. He left his humidor open by accident. I was like, "What are you doing?" Just had it open all week. It happens all week. So I was like, "Gee," so I stole the humidor from him. I told him he couldn't get it back until he took care of the 6, especially when I'm giving him stuff.
Boveda doesn't work so great when the humidor lid is wide open. Yeah.
No, that doesn't. No,
if that was a question from your next.
Yeah, nothing does.
Great. Well, what made you? I've got a question for you.
No, I got a question for you. So you've owned the patent on this for a while. Does the patent not expire?
Patent expires.
And it's what, 18 years, 20 years?
About 20 years.
So we're working on. You got 2 more years of heyday until a knockoff Boveda comes to the market?
Yeah, that could very well be the case.
That really sucks balls. I mean, because I can understand in the medical industry, I get that, but in something like this where that just sucks.
Well, wait, that assumes that we haven't recognized that and we don't have some game-changing items coming out.
Dude, in 2 years we're going to be smoking legal cannabis, so we won't even think about buying another product. We'll just be
going to buy cigars.
Cigars are going to get in the way.
We'll be like Dojo. Man, I just got to get my Boveda going. So.
And Cigar Dojo does not endorse illegal cannabis smoking.
Yeah, by the way, Cigar Dojo does not. I love Dojo. I love Master Sensei.
Well, the reality is that it will run out. It could very well be longer than 2 years because some of our patents run for another 7, some of them run for another 18. So will somebody come out with a Boveda knockoff? Probably. But we're okay with that because we've got some new form factors, some new products coming out that will make whatever they're probably coming out with obsolete right the day that they come out. And what might happen too is that the world only knows of two-way humidity control because of Boveda. Yes, you can get a bottle of Zycar 70% solution that says two-way humidity control, but you throw that in your humidor and it's spiking to 90. And so In terms of real, true two-way humidity control, precision humidity control, we're it. And if there were more people selling it, then that maybe raises the water, and all ships rise in that scenario. So maybe that could happen. But what we know for sure is that we're planning on it, and there's a number of things that will come out here in the actually probably the near future that will solidify our future. And they're just, listen, you go to Target, you're going to see Hefty bags and you're going to see Target brand bags. Hefty makes them both. People still buy the Hefty bag because it's a brand, right?
Yeah.
And so people know and trust the Boveda brand. And we went through the first 5 years or so of our existence. We didn't know if every single pack was not going to leak. There was a little bit of mystery in that because there is some seriously complicated things that go into making this simple and elegant thing that people are holding. So I never want to wish anybody poor fortune, but there's definitely challenges ahead. Even if I gave you, Seth, all the components, here you go, make a Boveda, it would be very, very difficult for you to do.
Oh yeah, I totally F it up. What's the
Dude,
worst?
I know people in China. I could whip it out in a day.
Yeah. What is the worst?
No. You wouldn't whip it out in a day. 7-year-olds would whip it out in a day.
This is probably true. Yeah, I mean, I'd get some cheap labor. It could be done.
Yeah,
I get some reverse engineers. Oh, dude.
You call me a communist, you dictator. So, my question: Charles? What is the worst story you have heard about someone using your product incorrectly? Because I think I have one of the best ones I've ever heard.
Ooh. Let's see here. You know what? This is a great example of never expecting anything. And it's the reason that you're going to see some new Boveda graphics on all of our products coming out here pretty soon. I was at the Cigars International event in the Poconos this last year, and a guy comes up, and he says, hey, my buddy was telling me that your product's the shit, but it didn't work for me. I said, really? Well, how big is your humidor? And he said, well, it holds 50 cigars. And I said, okay, and how many packs were you using? He said, well, I started with 2, then I went to 3, and then I went to 4. And I said, well, was your humidor seasoned? He goes, yeah. It was a 50-count humidor, and I used some 84s, and then I put the 72s in there, and it wasn't maintaining it, so I gave up on it, and I went back to my refillable stuff that I don't love, but it just kept a higher humidity. And what I realized is that the pack that he was using after he'd used the big one to season were our little 8-gram packs.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so even though he'd used our big 84 to season, he started using our little tiny 72s in this fairly big container. I said, man, you've got to use these. And so I gave him a handful instead of the one that you get with your ticket. And he's been a happy camper ever since. So that was really a function of our packaging, even though it looks great, hasn't told you what size it is or what the humidity level, what the number next to the B means. Because people have asked us, hey, I love your stuff for my pot. I love your stuff for my guitar. What's this number next to the letter mean? That's the relative humidity level. So we're going to have a percent, RH. It's going to tell you what 4 gram, 8 gram, 60 grams, so you know what you're holding, which is a customer service thing for us so that when people call and tell us, hey, this is what we're holding or this is what we have, we can better deduce and help them get on the right track. So that's probably not too extreme, but what's your stuff?
We were at an event, and a rep for True Estate Company was. We were there, and someone asked, "Oh, how do these Boveda packs work?" So he's holding one that's just in the plastic wrap, which you take the plastic, you put the Boveda pack in. He says, all you do is open up the pack, put it in there, and it'll work perfectly. So the consumer took it literally, and the fact is he took it out of the plastic wrap, he cut the Boveda pack, he sprinkled the stuff all over his cigar. Oh yeah.
Genius level IQ
Genius.
right there.
And the guy came back in the shop and says, man, this Boveda pack ruined my cigars. And I heard about this part, and he's like, well, what happened? So he opened up the humidor, and the retailer was like, what the fuck did you do?
Right.
So he's like, well, I cut it open like they said, and I sprinkled in there. He's like, no, you don't cut the actual bag, man. You open up the plastic.
If you're out there, Mr. Unnamed Person, and you did that, if you're willing to admit that you were the one, send us an email, info@bovedainc.com. We're going to send you a few free packs for the trouble. Okay, so
I
you know
love
what,
clippers.
and you know what? That's kind of evidence of how people have been conditioned in the cigar world.
Yeah.
Maintaining your humidor has been effort. Okay, it's got to be hard. It's got to be difficult. There's got to be guesswork. It's got to be a mystery. It's got to be a little bit of alchemy, because that's what it's been with everything else. But ours is just that freaking easy. How big is your humidor? How many cigars does it hold? Great, 1 for 25. Throw them in your humidor after it's seasoned. That's it. And so it's not exactly his fault. He's been conditioned that way for years, but that is really hilarious.
It's the way it rolls, man.
Yeah. So we want to keep making it obvious and making it simple for people to use our product, and just what we've fallen back on is just the term enjoy, because you enjoy cigars. You enjoy the fun thing about our business is that we operate in a world where it's pleasure, it's hobby, it's passion for people. You don't have to smoke cigars. You don't have to play guitar. You don't have to smoke pot. But those are pleasures or hobbies or lifestyles for people, and we want to make that easier. We want to give them more time to enjoy their hobbies and things outside of their hobbies by minimizing the time that they have to fart around with wondering about their humidity levels. So that's what a thing that you'll see on a lot of our marketing. No mess, no worries, enjoy. It's just that easy.
Perfect. Logan, anything to wrap it up?
No. I think I might be sold. I might use Boveda's a little more.
I might be sold.
Maybe. I might. I don't know. We'll see.
We have to give it another hour. Well, hey, Logan, listen. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you. Well, wait a second. Yeah, I'm going to send you some Boveda. Whatever you're not convinced in, I'll send you some. You don't have to hurt my one feeling if you don't love it. I think you will. I think the world thinks you will. I think anybody that uses Boveda will. But let's also talk about whatever that idea was that you were close to getting done that never happened when we so rudely changed distribution. Good?
All right.
I'm loving you.
I'm loving it. All right, so Bob Dog's one of the winners, Logan. Pick out.
Well, how many? I mean, first of all, hold on.
We got 8. We got 8.
We got, oh, man. All right, so we'll do
Bob Dog's one winner.
Okay, well, hold on. If you win, you can email me, logan@cigarfederation.com. Why don't I just have everyone email me, and then we'll just pick some random winners, and then we'll pick a few winners that you want, because that's just easier.
That works. Everyone email Logan.
At Cigar Federation, put Boveda in the subject line, your full name and address, and then pick out who you want to win, Seth. Bob Dog, and then I'll just pick other randoms. Then email.
That works. 5 packs from the tuna, which means you're going to get some good stuff.
5 packs of Bovedas or 5 packs of cigars? Because if it's cigars, tunas. Tuna's owning it. All right.
And they will be with Boveda packs when they get mailed out, man.
Yeah, and I would suggest, too, if your viewers don't have a surplus of awesome people they follow on Twitter, follow at Boveda Tobacco, because we're going to have some pretty big announcements. We've got that bigger acrylic humidor. We've got some new form factors coming out that are going to be there by popular demand. We've got some really, and again, all of them are aimed at making your life easier, giving you more time to enjoy your stuff. So we listen. And if you've got questions, suggestions, you want to see something, email us, call us, because listen, we exist because people demanded it. So we don't claim to have a monopoly on good ideas, so let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, at Boveda Tobacco on Twitter. You guys are also on Facebook, Boveda. You guys, I didn't know you guys were in the Graham Works. I saw that video. That's pretty darn sweet.
Yeah, that's right. It's a fun spot to be in when Graham Works, that humidor, exists because Boveda exists. A place like Certifresh, where they're in 2,500 different golf courses nationwide with a single serve cigar that you could lose for a year in the packaging with a Boveda pack in it, and it would be perfect. And that exists because of Boveda. So it's really fun that people build businesses around the Boveda brand because it's the only thing they can depend on to keep the cigars perfect.
New Havana vacuum seals with a Boveda pack inside. Yeah. My illegal Cubans vacuum seal with a Boveda pack inside. They get it.
Yep.
Awesome. Charles, thank you so much for. Go ahead.
What did your viewers win? What did your viewers win?
Oh, they're going to win some 5 packs. We got some Illusion Anunnakis. We got some.
Tastes like paper.
We got some. Such an asshole.
That's just a bad cigar, man. It tastes like paper.
Caldwell, the King is Dead. We got
That's
some.
not much better.
Oh, shut up, man. We got some Camachos. Anyone sends me the best meme photo of Logan with the dumbest response, I'm going to send you the best 10 cigars I have.
You've got so much better cigars than that.
Oh, my God. Dude, I'm giving away good stuff. We have Maya Selva Maduros. Those are
That's
really
a great
good.
cigar. But only the Robusto.
Hey, no, I want to tell your viewers this. All right, I want the best meme of Logan, let's see, and his struggle between Oasis and Boveda, and you post that, tag at Boveda Tobacco, the best one. I'm going to send you a dozen of whatever humidity level that you want. Actually, it doesn't even need to be the Oasis Boveda thing. Just the funniest meme of something of Logan, anything. It can be anything that we talked about tonight. I'm going to send you a dozen Boveda of your choice.
There'll be some good ones because
I'm following everybody on Twitter except for Boveda. That way I can see this first thing whenever I open up my Twitter. Whoever wins this, you're gonna get a hell of a prize from me too. So.
Well, what should they hashtag? Should they hashtag Seth in it, or what should they hashtag?
Put in Cigar Federation so I can see this, so I can make sure you fuckers don't ever win another free cigar.
Hashtag Cigar Federation. Hashtag Manatee. So.
Ass fucks, both of y'all.
I know. So
that was it. All right.
His oh gosh, that's too funny. I love this. We're gonna make this a tradition.
Good.
What? Just talk shit about Logan?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, well, thank you, Seth. I really appreciate that.
I'll
make sure to have you on every other episode. It's been fucking wonderful.
I hope a manufacturer makes one of these things. I'm gonna get Jose Blanco to make
can make shit about me because I'm like the most negative person on the face of the earth.
This guy's 15 minutes late to get on a bus.
Listen,
hey. But we got to qualify that. But we had flown across the fucking Atlantic with no sleep for about 36 hours. I'm not a spry man like back in my fraternity days during Hell Week where 36 hours of sleep doesn't faze me. It fucking phases me. And I slept, and I overslept, and it was really awkward.
We went on a trip to see Royal Agio with Drew Estate, and the day of the tour, we're all on the bus, supposed to be there 9 a.m. sharp. Logan's still in bed.
Oh.
Seth came and woke me up like a good friend.
Yeah.
So did you catch a later bus? Did they hold the bus?
No, the bus waits for me, son.
No, the bus waited. He just got yelled at by some Belgians and Dutch for a while.
Yeah, it wasn't very fun. I got an ass chewing, like an international ass chewing, and it did not feel very good.
It was good.
All right, so we got Bob Dog, and then we're going to go ahead and pick here. All right, so we got Bob Dog, Jeffrey Ackerson, Dennis Gimmel, Alex Martinez, Jeff Boldrick.
Perfect.
We'll do, I'm guessing, Steve Shooter and Steve Wagner.
Just get their address.
All winners.
Email me their stuff, and I'll get it in the mail.
Okay, boss.
Thanks, man. That about wraps it up on the actual live feed.
That's it, man. So, Charles, really appreciate it. You coming on and dispelling, some rumors, giving us a little bit of down low on the product. Really appreciate it. Before we wrap it up, tell all the listeners where they can find you, on social media, your website.
Sure. Every social media is going to pretty soon consolidate under one, and it's going to be Boveda Inc. It's already Instagram. Right now we're operating at Boveda Tobacco, but that will soon be Boveda Inc. So follow both because you're going to have to migrate over to Boveda Inc. pretty soon. So, and then at Facebook, it's facebook.com/Boveda USA. So post those memes of Logan on our Facebook page, or tag us on Twitter or Instagram even too. If you're into that. Make sure you
tag Cigar Federation so I can.
I know what's going to happen. I know me, and I'm going to give something to everyone who does it. But we will give something special. I'm going to give an acrylic humidor to the most special one.
Oh, there'll be some good ones. I can tell you that.
Yeah. So have fun with that. No, listen, guys, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate you letting me talk to you and to your viewers. You got everybody out there that uses Boveda. Thank you very much for your business. Really appreciate it. If you guys are questioning whether you need to use Boveda, I think the evidence is clear that it would be worth your while. So thank you, everybody, for your business.
All right, and with that, appreciate everyone listening in. Tune in next week. Rob will be back. Seth's fucking out, thank God. And we will have with us next Thursday, as it pulls up, Kendall Culberson from Gunslinger Cigars. So tune in, and it's actually Wednesday, which I'm not sure why it's Wednesday, but Wednesday. Check us out, cigarfederation.com. Appreciate everyone listening, and we're out.